Tell it as it is. South Africa, we are back. This edition, it's a very interesting one. I can tell you. Happy New Year. 2025, year of prosperity. 2025, a year that will see a lot happening in a lot of sporting codes. 2025, a year that we say God must bless our country, our beautiful country of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are in a restaurant. We're going to have some water with my guests, and we're going to have that chat that a lot of you don't know about, the Blue Bull Daisies. Today I'm honored to have the president of the Blue Bulls. Yes, rugby. I know you are asking yourself, what? Yes, rugby. We have Mr. Willem Strauss. Willem, how are you?
Well, Cecilia, always great to see you, and thanks for having me, and great 2025 to you as well.
Thank you, Willem. When I knew you, you're an agent.
Yeah.
Today you're the president. Tell me, what happened? We moved from an agent to the president.
Yeah, well, from 1990 till 2000, I was the CEO of the Pumas, and then more, agent promoter from 2000 till about 2015, and then I got involved with club rugby, became vice president, I think, in 2016, and 2018 became president. Yeah, so it's been 7 years now already, but seven excellent years, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. You know, if people want to know rugby and they want to know people who love the daisy, I think you must, ladies and gentlemen, ask Willem Strauss. You're turning 87 years this year as the Blue Bulls. Did you know that? You were formed in 1938. You're turning 37 years. But you know, in you turning 87 years, to me, what is key and what is important is the women's section of the Blue Bulls.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Cecilia. And I think for 87 years we were a brand, or we have been a brand of excellence and growth, etc. And 2 years ago, me and the CEO sat down and said, you know, what are we going to do with women's rugby? It's now became a priority. World Rugby wants it to grow. SA Rugby wants it to grow. But once you put on this brand of excellence, this logo of excellence on any jersey, they must excel. So we decided to take a brave step and make the girls professional. Year one, I can tell you, we lost 10 million rand. Last year, we lost 5 million.
How much did you lose?
10 million in year one.
For making the girls professional.
Yeah.
South Africa, did you hear that?
Yeah, no financial support, no sponsors. But now from this year onwards, we're breaking even, and soon we might be making some money. But I think, you know, somebody needed to take the first brave step. It's the first professional rugby team in South Africa. And, you know, I wasn't the greatest supporter of physical sport for women, but when I look at how it changed those girls' lives and how it empowered them and how it attracted new audiences to Loftus. When we had that final against Western Province last year, there were 3,000 people at Loftus, which I think have never been to Loftus before to watch a rugby game. So that they created their own brand, Daisies. You know, it's not Blue Bulls Women, it's the Daisies, and they're growing their brand and they're growing their support base. So it's incredible to witness, and hopefully other unions will follow suit, because if we have more unions becoming professional, then South Africa can be an international force as well on the women's game. As you know, in the men's game, South Africa is the World Cup champions back-to-back, but our women isn't even amongst the top 10, and that need to change. But you can only change if you're a full-time professional, you train full-time, your skill levels increases, your fitness levels increases. So hopefully this will be the start of good things to come for women's sport in South Africa, and rugby in particular.
I love how you put it, that 2 years ago you took a bold decision of making sure that women in rugby are recognized. And I love the fact that you also said you are not a fan of, you know, physical, you know, intense rugby being amongst women. But we are here now and we are doing it. What do you tell a little girl? We've got a school office next to you, who wants to play rugby and who sees herself wearing a daisy and wants to be there. But the mother, you know, the problem is the mother. I want to be honest. But the mother is saying, you're not going to play this sport.
Dangerous.
We are not going to let you play this dangerous sport, because once you have that head knock, we don't know what might happen to you.
No.
What do you tell that mother?
Yeah, 100%. Very valid point. And there's always been a stigma regarding, you know, physical sport for ladies like boxing or wrestling, rugby. You know, I think... let me take a step back. If you look at New Zealand, there's 5 million people. We got 60 million plus. Their women are world class in rugby, netball, hockey, Olympics, anything. South Africa has got so many athletes, and we're not excelling in every sport per se. But We do have a little bit of a challenge in terms that, the schools in South Africa is much more orientated in terms of netball, hockey, etc. But once again, like I say, there's room for everyone. What we've done in the Blue Bulls region is we establish a lot of youth clubs. So if you can't play at the school per se, then you go and join the youth club. For the mothers and the parents out there that is a little bit worried about the physical and the extreme, which they might perceive as a violent sport, I think the conditioning today, there's a lot of emphasis on player welfare. The tackles has been made lower. Actually, I think there's a lot of other sport codes where you get more injuries than in rugby per se. But once you are conditioned and trained in the right way, then it's not that dangerous or that you won't get that kind of injuries. But it is a physical sport, so you need a specific, typical kind of character that wants to play rugby. But in Blue Bulls country, join a youth club and you might become a daisy, who knows.
Before we ask Willem, how are they paying the girls? What made them the decision to pay the girls? And most importantly, let's talk about that rural girl. Let's talk about Lusanda, the captain. Let's talk about Elizabetha, the captain of the Daisies, because we need to talk about them. We need to know what's happening. South Africa, let's take a break. We are back talking Daisies, Blue Bulls. Who ever thought in their mind that the Blue Bulls will have a professional ladies team? Willem, you're paying your girls. What a bold decision.
Yeah.
What made you take that decision? Because yes, we know rugby is about male, it's a male-dominated sport, but there are Daisies, 35 of them. Lusanda is the captain, Elizabetha is the co-captain. What made you take that decision?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, we decided if we put this brand onto any jersey, whether it's male, female, young, old, it must be a brand of excellence. So to excel, you must be professional. To be professional, you must be a skilled athlete. You must be a fit athlete. And like I said, we change lives. And I think we've attracted new audiences, as I mentioned before. And players like Lucinda and Jackie and Libby Jansen van Rensburg, they're starting to become household names, which is great as well. This year is the Women's Rugby World Cup.
Oh, yes.
And I saw the other day that Twickenham will be sold out. 82,000 spectators will attend a rugby game with women's teams. The TV rights have sort of doubled from the previous World Cup. So the women's game is definitely growing on a world scale. That's for sure. And I hope that South Africa will make an impact, because if South Africa make an impact, there's role models, Lucindas of the world, young girls look up to them. They want to start playing rugby. So this is actually, I think, a very important year for the women's rugby in South Africa as well.
We are playing our women's rugby. They're going for the World Cup. How many do you think will be from the Daisies?
All of them?
No, that's the president talking. And I love the way that the president is so confident that all of the Daisies, the Blue Bull Daisies, will be representing us in the World Cup.
I think probably more than half of the team should be from us. Average, we produce about half of the team, and even more than for the sevens as well. And just another thing in terms of the ladies' game is that the sevens also went to the Olympics. So you can also become an Olympian. A couple of netball players like Mara, De Bruin, etc. Also,
why did you steal our girls in netball? I'm coming to that.
Very good athletes. So, except for the pathway to become a full-time professional with the Daisies, you can play for the national team, you can play for the sevens in the Olympics. So I think that's actually a great incentive to take up the sport as well.
So tell me, we've got the likes of Maras, we've got the likes of Romandi Potriter that left netball and went into rugby. What do you think can be the reason of them saying, now I'm leaving netball and I'm going to rugby? But you know what's funny? I saw Mara the other day. She's even coaching netball. She's into netball, but she's into rugby. So if I have to talk to Mara, what do you think she can tell me?
Yeah, I don't know. Mara, I know her brother is a professional rugby player playing in Scotland. She grew up with rugby. Probably played against him in the backyard and stuff like that. And her parents as well, her dad as well. So she grew up in a very strong rugby house with a strong rugby culture per se. probably, like I say, that's probably a main reason I haven't asked her. But like I say, there's enough room and enough space for everyone to play a lot of sports in South Africa. We are blessed with the talent that we have. And, I look at a country like Samoa, who's also good in netball, or competitive in netball. There's 200,000 people living there. There's less than are living in Mamelodi. So there's a lot of talent that we still need to get out of South Africa and create opportunities to make it to the top of the game.
Rugby, Blue Bulls franchise in Limpopo, take South Africa through. How do the girls in Ramakapula do, go and play rugby in Polokwane? And how do girls in Mulechi go and play rugby in Polokwane? How do girls in Mankweng go and play rugby in Polokwane? How the girls in the Khale go and play rugby in Polokwane and want to be part of the Bull Blues? How do you say to that rural girl in all the rural areas? Remember, I've mentioned some of the rural areas within Limpopo. Because if I talk Blue Bulls, I'm not only talking about Polokwane, but even though the offices are in Polokwane, but I'm saying, what do you tell a rural girl in Limpopo? How do you encourage her to go and play rugby?
Yeah, you look in Tshwane, it's obviously easier. We got 12 established clubs at Harlequins and a few other clubs as well where girls can join. It's close by. Also in the townships, in the rural districts, it's tougher. I don't think just for rugby, I think for any sport per se. Limpopo is part of the Blue Bulls, but it's a sub-union by itself. They got development status from SA Rugby, so they're part of the Blue Bulls, but they organize themselves and arrange their own internal matters. There is a representative team, Limpopo Blue Bulls ladies team, who plays in the second division of the provincial section. But yeah, it's a bit tougher on the rural district side because of the distances, even for the established rugby clubs, not just the emerging rugby clubs. But there is ways and pathways to create. And any lady that wants to be, get involved with rugby can contact us or via the Limpopo offices, and we'll make sure that there's some sort of way to engage her with rugby. But I think it's not just a Limpopo challenge. I think it's a national challenge. If you look at the Northern Cape and a lot of other provinces, there's huge distances. And like I said, yes, I wish we had trillions of dollars just to create that opportunity for every girl and every boy in South Africa to play sport. I think a healthy mind a healthy body leads to a healthy mind, and we got so much talent in this country.
Talent in the country. South Africa, we're coming back. When we come back, I want to ask the president of the Blue Bulls, him, Rupert Motsepe, you want to know. We are back. Tell it as it is. This is now the time to tell it as it is. Blue Bulls. Petrus Motsepe, the billionaire, is part of that. Blue Bulls, Rupert, the billionaire, is part of that. Take us through. How do we get in some sporting codes, some rugby teams? Let me not be selfish and say netball and say how did you get it right? Let me just maybe ask it that way. How did you get it right?
Yeah, when I became president 7 years ago, it was a bit of an awkward time for the Bulls. We had our financial troubles and a lot of other challenges as well. And I made one decision in my life, Cecilia, and that is professional sport is the playground of billionaires. Don't let amateurs try to run professional sport. So, and after some negotiations, we concluded the deal in terms of which Remgro, headed by Dr. Rupert, and ARC, headed by Dr. Motsepe, would each own 37.5% of the Blue Bulls on the professional side and the commercial side. So they take care of the finances, the contracting, the stadium, the suites, all the commercial stuff, while we look after the amateur side, the clubs, the rugby, club rugby, the women, the schools, the primary schools, the mini rugby and stuff like that. And I must tell you, it's probably I think it is the two best shareholders you can get in your life. They have been extremely good for us. When I did the deal, the next year it was COVID. So you can imagine the kind of knocks that we took during those 2 years. They've been supporting us wholeheartedly with everything. I'm just blessed to have them as shareholders, and they do it from a philanthropic angle. Obviously for Dr. Motsepe, there's the fact that we got Sundowns, and they can also be part of Loftus. He's a huge rugby fan as well, so he's bringing the people of Tshwane together. Dr. Rupert has been involved with rugby for some time, so no, it's just, to have the two guys on my side is just the greatest feeling, and I think that will be my legacy once I move on. Is that I put that deal in place. South Africa on the professional side has got a huge challenge with the weak rand. We lose our players overseas, 24 rand to the pound. You can't compete. We can't. We have salary caps as well. We can't compete, but at least in some way we've been able to compete. Well, we reached the international competition 3 times the final, so we done more than just compete. But without their backing, it would not have been possible.
2 billionaires, he said, if you want to be professional, you must go and have the billionaires investing in you, making the sport professional. So South Africa, we must think twice. If we want to turn sport in the country professional, we must get out of our comfort zone and go and talk to these billionaires. He said there are people. He said there are people that he approached. So I don't know what is dead that me and you are afraid of to approach them. Puma. It's a brand that it's sponsoring the Blue Bulls everywhere in the stores and everywhere. How did you get that one right also? We need to ask, by the way, people need to understand and learn from this program that, you know what, it's not only about running the club, but it's about, as a president, doing other things besides that. So tell us about Puma and tell me, as a president, what do you think, how do you think sport in the country of South Africa can improve?
Puma has been involved with, from before my time, fantastic partners for the Bulls as well. We're actually the only rugby brand in the world that they sponsor. I know they do this, the netball, they're very well involved in netball, which is fantastic, but we are the only rugby brand in the world that involved with lots of soccer.
Are you serious? Out of all the rugby teams,
all the rugby teams,
Puma is only sponsoring the Blue Bulls?
Only the Vodacom Bulls, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I must say that our commercial partners, the likes of Puma, Vodacom has been brilliant for us over many years with a lot of money invested. Afgri, I can name them all. We actually, I think, next to the Springboks, we have the biggest sports sponsorship portfolio in the country. And Cecilia, a lot of people say, but why do they sponsor the Bulls? Why not us? If you don't create the right product, it must be a product that you want to be associated with. You must share the same values and the sharing vision. And number 2, it must be a product that you want to. You need to be able to sell.
Oh, yes.
So, there's some minor sports might feel that, they're only looking, the big sponsors only looking after the likes of rugby and netball and soccer and etc. But, get your product right. Once your product is right, then commercial partners, and I don't look at them as sponsors. You're not a sponsor. You're a commercial partner because we're getting into this together. Then commercial partners are more than willing to twin with you and partner with you. And I think we got that right. And like I said, with the Springboks winning back-to-back World Cups, people also want, and sponsors and commercial partners like to relate with winners.
Yeah.
Don't make a mistake. And think it's just, but once that you're a winner and your product is right, then you have something to sell.
We are in South Africa. The world is evolving. We cannot say we are not evolving with the world. As a person in rugby and as a leader in rugby, as a president of the Vodacom Blue Bulls, what do you think can change in the country? Let's talk openly. So there's a lot of gaps that we see as sports people, but this is the time that we must talk out and say, this is what can be changed in the country for sport to improve. You just said Samoa has got 200,000 people, but Samoa is doing good in rugby. How is that possible? That New Zealand has got 5 million people. They are doing so well in rugby, in netball, in everything.
Yeah.
Australia doesn't have the numbers we have in South Africa. We've got 62 million people in South Africa. What do you think? Talk to South Africans. Talk to us as sport-loving people. You've been in sport for a very long time. Willem, remember, I knew you from long. So I want to say, what do you think? Let's be bold enough to say, if this and that can change in the country, the sport in the country can be, we can compete with New Zealand. We can compete with Australia. Now England is on board. We cannot run away from these things. I mean, France in rugby. How do we talk the truth so as we can improve? Not that we are targeting people, but just improving.
It's probably always going to come down to the money, but I think, our leadership must make a conscious decision. They talk a lot about sport, and we've seen once again, back to my world, what
Yes.
rugby has meant to this country. The social cohesion, the proudness, the bringing people together. It's been incredible. This previous World Cup, I've never experienced something like that in my life, and I guess nobody has ever experienced anything like that in our life. So I think sport in our country is so much more than just sport. From Dr. Mandela right through has mentioned that hundreds of times before. So I guess it's a lot to do about leadership. You know, if I just look at my rugby world and I look at provinces where it's going well, clubs where it's going well, where it's not going well, it's a lot to do about the leadership. If the leadership is strong, if you've got the right jockey in place, then things start to happen. So I think, number one, we need to maybe empower or maybe train our leaders more in the different sport codes in terms of, you know, how do you run the business side of sport? How do you do this? Maybe upskill leaders in sport. I think there's a huge vacuum in terms of that. And then also, you know, change maybe the minds of the policymakers in government circles, etc., to see that sport is more than just sport. It's especially in South Africa. We can do and create and develop so much with sport in terms of more than just a sport, because what does sport teach you? It teaches you integrity, it teaches you all the right values, you know, working together in a team, discipline, respect. You can't be a sportsman if you don't have respect for the opponents, for the referee, for the umpire, for whatever. So I think the values of sport is so important. And but hopefully, you know, hopefully in the next decade or two, hopefully there will be a change, and we just create more opportunities for people in especially the rural districts, but also, you know, in the townships and in the other places of South Africa. We always will have that inequality, I think, in this country between the haves and the have-nots. Hopefully it will get closer in years to come. But sport is so important for South Africa.
Remember, sport, the one that unites the country. If you want social cohesion, it's about sport. He has said it all to say, if sport in the country has to be the sport that it should be, it's all about leadership. So it means we must start grooming leaders from school level. It all begins at basic education. So we must start doing that at that level, taking clubs in rural areas, teaching them about leadership. Yes, they can play sport. However, if they don't understand how to do things and how to lead, we are not going anywhere. So leadership, very key and important in sport. This is the episode that I think a lot of you have been waiting for. South Africa, thank you for watching. Thank you, Willem, for coming. Thank you. Let's meet again when we tell it as it is. As always, people you're not expecting. This time around, let's talk to another superfay of the country. I wonder if you'll guess who that one is. Thank you, South Africa. Stay blessed. Happy 2025.